Imagine one boy, born with questions instead of answers, a garage instead of a playground, and a dream so big it didn't fit into any classroom. This is the true story of Steve Jobs, told in simple but powerful English. A story about love, rejection, courage, and how one boy changed the world. Let's dive in. Steve Jobs was born in 1955 in San Francisco, but right from the start, life tested him. His biological parents were young, scared, not ready. They made the hardest choice, to give him up for adoption. It wasn't rejection. It was hope for a better future. Paul and Clara Jobs adopted him. Two ordinary people with extraordinary hearts. They couldn't offer riches, but they gave him the two things that mattered most: unconditional love and freedom to dream. From the beginning, Steve's mind was restless. He wanted to understand everything. How does a light bulb shine? Why does a TV show pictures? Why can't things be simpler? Other kids accepted the world. Steve questioned it. Where others saw machines, he saw magic waiting to be improved. Curiosity wasn't a phase for him. It was his oxygen. His father, Paul, wasn't a businessman. He was a simple mechanic. But he taught Steve a rule that stayed forever. Even if no one sees it, do it beautifully. They worked in the garage, side by side, fixing engines, polishing small parts, making things better. The smell of oil, the sound of metal, the feeling of pride in hidden work. Steve learned true greatness comes from invisible excellence. In school, Steve felt trapped. Classrooms were too small for his ideas. Rules felt like prison bars. Teachers didn't always understand his wild mind. He was smart, but stubborn, creative, but restless. One teacher said, "He's not a problem. He's a spark. You just need to guide it." Another said, "If we don't challenge him, he'll challenge us." School didn't fit Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs was never meant to fit. He was meant to create his own space. At just 13 years old, Steve made a bold move. He called Bill Hewlett, the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, directly. He asked for parts to build a project. Bill didn't just send parts. He offered Steve a summer job. Steve learned early, if you want something, ask without fear. In high school, Steve met Steve Wozniak, Woz. Woz was a genius with circuits. Steve was a genius with dreams. Together, they didn't just build machines, they built possibilities. They laughed, they invented, they imagined. Their first big invention? A blue box. A device that let you make free calls. Yes, it was illegal. Yes, it was risky, but they sold dozens, and they learned something powerful. We can build things, and the world will pay for them. Steve went to Reed College, but it felt wrong. He dropped out, but stayed around. He audited classes he loved. He walked miles for free meals. He slept on friends' floors. He studied beauty in places others ignored. One random class changed everything: calligraphy, elegant letters, beautiful spaces, hidden details. Years later, when he built the Macintosh, those lessons made Apple different. Art inside technology, soul inside machines. Steve traveled to India, searching for meaning. He walked barefoot across dusty streets. He meditated for hours. He returned with a simple idea. Simplicity is not weakness. It is power. Back in California, Woz built a computer. Steve saw it and saw the future. "Let's build a company," Steve said. "Let's change everything." And so, in 1976, in a small garage with no heat, Apple was born. Apple I was simple. Apple II was colorful. Both were revolutionary. They didn't just sell computers. They sold dreams. By 25, Steve was a millionaire. But he didn't care about money. He cared about beauty, about ideas, about changing what people thought was possible. Money was just the fuel, not the destination. Steve challenged everything. Computers should be beautiful. Technology should be human. Work should be passion. He wore jeans. He walked barefoot. He hated suits and fake smiles, and he meant it. Steve led the team that created the Macintosh. The Mac had a mouse, icons, fonts, beauty. It felt friendly. It felt magical. It was the future, before the world was ready. But inside Apple, things got difficult. Steve was intense, demanding, obsessed. The board of directors got nervous. The dreamer made them uncomfortable. In 1985, they fired him from his own company. Steve was heartbroken, lost. He spent weeks wandering, thinking, hurting, but slowly a new fire lit inside him. Failure wasn't the end. It was a beginning. Steve started a new company, Next. The machines were beautiful, expensive, ahead of their time. Next didn't sell millions, but it changed millions of minds. And secretly, it changed Steve too. Then Steve did something crazy. He bought a tiny animation studio, Pixar. No hit movies, no money. But he believed in their stories. In 1995, Toy Story changed everything. The first full 3D animated movie. A revolution in storytelling. Meanwhile, Apple was struggling. Their new products failed. Their magic was fading. They needed a miracle. So they called Steve. In 1997, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. But he wasn't just the young rebel anymore. He was wiser, sharper, stronger. He cleaned house. He cut dozens of products. He focused everything. First came the iMac, a colorful, friendly computer. It looked different. It felt alive. People didn't just buy it, they loved it. Apple was cool again. Then came the iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket. Then came the iPhone, touch, swipe, tap. Then the iPad, a screen for life. Each product simpler than the last, each one changing the world. Steve kept his black turtlenecks, his jeans, his simple shoes. He said no to thousands of ideas, to say yes to a few great ones. He believed, design is not just what it looks like. Design is how it works. In 2005, at Stanford University, Steve gave a speech. He talked about death, about risk, about dreams. He said, stay hungry. Stay foolish. His words traveled across the world. They became a map for dreamers. In 2003, Steve was diagnosed with cancer. He fought it, worked through it, but he knew every day was precious. In 2010, Steve introduced the iPad. Light, elegant, personal. It was another masterpiece, but behind the scenes, his health was fading. Still, he kept building until he could build no more. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away. He was 56 years old. The world stopped. Millions mourned. Outside Apple stores, people left apples, each with one bite missing. Steve Jobs left more than devices. He left ideas. Simplicity is strength. Curiosity is a gift. Beauty matters. He showed that technology can have a soul. Steve once said, everything around you was made by people no smarter than you. You can change it. You can build your own things. Don't live someone else's life. Create your own. When he was young, Steve said, I want to put a dent in the universe. And he did. Not with explosions, but with dreams, with ideas, with belief. What are you curious about? What would you build if you weren't afraid? Write it in the comments and in English. Practice your words. Share your dreams. This was just one story. We have many more stories of dreamers, of fighters, of builders. Subscribe for more true stories in real English. Every story you listen to, every word you learn, brings you one step closer, closer to understanding, closer to fluency, closer to your dreams. Thank you for learning with us. Stay curious, stay bold, stay different, like Steve, like every dreamer who dared to believe. Learning a language is like building a company, step by step, word by word, small today, big tomorrow, keep building. What part of Steve Jobs' story inspired you the most? Write a comment, in English. I'll be reading them all. And don't forget, subscribe to Let's English. One story at a time, one learner at a time, we make English simple and stories unforgettable. Join us on the journey. Thank you for watching. You listened, you learned, you reflected. That's amazing. See you in the next story with Let's English.